to another episode of Sweet Tea and Coffee. This is episode number 56. And I think it's worth mentioning that we are recording this on the day where the album came out.
Yeah.
Which has been really exciting. Mm-hmm. So I hope you guys have had a chance to listen to it. We talked about it a few episodes ago, or an episode ago.
Last episode. That's right, with Todd Wright. And he was less feisty than... He was nice.
Yeah, you get a little apology in there. So maybe Todd can come back again.
Maybe
He's
so.
earned his way
Maybe
back.
so.
But thanks for listening to that.
Yeah,
Seriously.
and you figured out today, this is brand new news, how to share an album on Apple Music.
I appreciate you calling me out like that.
I mean, I think this is an opportunity for you to send that out. People know it's coming now. If you're in Kindle's phone book,
if you're in my phone book, you probably got it. I was bragging about how many people I'd texted with the album by 8 a.m. this morning.
Yeah.
So, friends, family, watch out. You're getting a link to Apple Music. Whether you actually know how to work Apple Music or not, you're getting it. So, anyway, a couple of shout-outs today.
Yeah.
This is a big deal. Today, on the day we're recording this. So, if you see her after you hear this, you'll have to wish her happy birthday afterwards. But the person that puts all the pretty things together at Fredonia Hill, all the nice looking images and all the graphics and all that, her name is Haley Chapman. And today, on the day of this recording, September the 7th, is her birthday. So
that's right.
Big shout out to Haley for her birthday. First birthday shout out on the pod,
official photographer of Sweet Tea and Coffee.
Yeah, so she's part of the team.
Yeah.
So happy birthday to Haley. And then the other thing, this is our first, I had another report of another binge listener to the podcast.
I heard that. Okay, yeah. I heard the
so
same
someone
story.
got hooked in on the Madison episode. Her name's Jessica Ferris. She lives in the DFW area. Former Nacogdoches resident.
Yep.
Got in on Madison's episode and then has apparently listened to almost all the others. So Jennifer Whitehead was our last
binge listener.
Yeah. And now Jessica Ferris is on there. And Jessica is apparently Madison's hooking her up, sending her a...
I gave her a couple stickers today to send out.
And a stamp. And there is a sticker on the way. Jessica, thanks for listening. Blake, you've got some news about some numbers. This is kind of crazy.
So this is really crazy. By the time this episode comes out, we're going to be brushing up against 10,000 listens on this podcast, which is pretty nuts that people have listened to that many
does that
hours.
count? Does that count how I just put it on play and just let it run?
Well,
all day,
I'm pretty
or
sure.
does
So
it-
I do know that Brendan Todd has listened to his episode several times.
Oh, trying to get his numbers padded. I see that.
Yeah, and he's in the top 10. So he's.
No, I'm just kidding. We don't really.
So
do that.
I think it does. It considers repeats.
But
at play.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah,
that's really cool. Thank you guys for listening. We did say that we will do our best to figure out who listen number 10,000 is. There's no way of us knowing that, but we're going to randomly pick somebody and award you with the random 10,000 listens award, and it'll be, I don't know, we'll come up with
something.
a prize.
Yeah.
Okay, too much banter. Listen, we've got some friends in the house with us. We've got Madi and Gracie here. They recently took a trip to New York and spent some time with Josh Williford, who is one of our missionaries that we support. He's in the New York area.
He's a friend of the pod, too.
He is a friend of the pod.
Yep.
That's also true. And so we're going to interview them about a few things. How'd they get to NAC? How'd they get to Fredonia Hill? How'd they get all the way to New York and what they learned and discovered there. So stick around for this episode. All right, so I said we've got Madi and Gracie in the house with us. This is we don't very often have multiple guests. So, and this one is especially interesting because they look alike, they sound alike, and today they showed up wearing the exact same thing. So this is if this gets confusing to you, it's confusing to us. But y'all, seriously, thanks for being in here. Why don't you jump in and just kind of start by talking to us about how you arrived in the big city of Nacogdoches. How'd you get here?
We should probably identify who's talking first.
Yeah, that's right. Tell the folks who's talking first.
I'm Madi.
There we go.
I'll go first. I actually got here 21 years ago when I was born.
Wow.
a Ben. I'm a Ben.
Hey,
Did you know that,
No,
Blake?
I didn't. I feel, yeah, this is great.
I was born and raised in Nacogdoches, so I've been here my whole entire life. But I did not go to Fredonia my whole life, obviously. I just got here in December.
Cool.
Yeah, and so I grew up here, but my parents are Catholic, and so I grew up in a Catholic church.
Yeah.
But I just never really found myself wanting to go deeper there. And so I started to go to church with my friends, and they went to a Baptist church. And I kind of just realized oh, I can have a relationship with the Lord. And I didn't really know what that was. And so I just kept going to church there, and eventually just fell in love with a relationship, the idea of a relationship with the Lord. And so walking through high school and all that, I was on and off with my relationship. But coming into freshman year of college, I was in person, which was 2019. So first semester was the year before, or the semester before COVID.
Yeah, the normal time.
The normal time, yeah. Which now is not so normal because normal time is COVID. Yeah. But so I just got into the wrong crowd, was just living for myself, just kind of a wild child. And the following semester was COVID happened, and so there was no opportunity to do that, which I'd say that the COVID was an answered prayer. It kind of just it gave me no option but to just be alone with the Lord. Wow. And to really sit and think about what my life was looking like at that moment. And so that summer I traveled with a camp ministry called Clear, and leading up to the summer I was how am I going to lead students if I'm not even living the life that I'm leading them as they should lead or live? And so that was really convicting. And so I kind of just decided to actually give my life to the Lord. And that summer was a weird summer anyways, because it was the first summer of COVID. So there wasn't really that many camps. And so we had one camp, but the rest was just time for us to work on our relationship with the Lord. And so that was really helpful for me to deepen my relationship. And then coming back, I left Nacogdoches for a year, the fall to the next fall. I did an internship with the ministry, kind of just learned what it looked like to walk with Christ in real life. And so after that, I decided to come back to in-person college. And I realized I need a community, someone who's gonna walk alongside me while I walk with Christ, because I didn't have that my freshman year. And so I was well, I need a church home because I don't have a church home here. And so initially I was just church hopping, but I joined a sorority, Phi Lam, and was just kind of filling it out. They were a Christian community, but at a retreat in January or February. Nope. It was this semester before that. Somewhere between there. Melina, actually, she was speaking at the retreat, and she gave out her number. She was if you ever want to reach out to someone. She also gave out her address. So
that's what I'm talking about.
If she has crazy
surprising.
people on her front door, it's her fault.
Yeah.
But she gave out her number, and I was okay. Thought about it. A few weeks go by, and I'm maybe I should reach out. So I reached out, and I was
Wow.
Hey, I don't know if you disciple people, but would you consider it? I know you don't know me. You spoke at the retreat, and I think you were wonderful, and I really love that. And she messaged me back, and she was why don't we get coffee? And so I was okay. So we got coffee, and she told me, she was the way I believe discipleship is you have to walk with someone, and it's not just a one day for an hour meeting, which was solid to me. I was yeah. And she was come, if you aren't at a church home, come to Fredonia, do life with me, get involved. And I was this is perfect. I found someone who loves the Lord, who will show me how to do that, who will help me go deep. Also get a church home. This is great. And so that's how I got into Fredonia.
Wow. And that was what year?
That was last year.
Okay, last year in December, you say. Okay. Yeah. Wow, that's great. That's really cool. So that's really courageous to just go, okay, I'm just going to, this person gave their phone number out, which means they have some interest, but that's also a big deal to just call up someone you don't know and go, okay, will you get into the deep parts of my life? That's pretty crazy.
It was kind of crazy. So I work at Farm Bureau. Fun fact.
Okay.
With Marcus Clarkus.
I'm sure he loved that you just did that on the podcast.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And they had an accident with a deer,
I remember that.
A few weeks. And I actually got the phone call from them, and that name sounded so familiar. And so when I typed in their name, I was like, oh, she's the one that spoke. And so then I was like, I'm going to reach out. Yeah. It was really wild.
So the prompting to reach out. Okay, good. John and
deer.
Melina, you were wondering why in the world the deer? There it is.
Running into things. There it is. Yeah.
There it is. That's why the deer darted out at you. That's crazy. That's cool. Okay. All right, Gracie, what about you?
All right.
How'd you get to NAC?
So I got to NAC in 2018. I came here as a freshman, just searching for a church home. SFA was not my first choice. College-wise, I wanted to go to Texas A&M. Was kind of.
I'm sorry. What you said?
Texas. Texas A&M.
I thought you said Tech.
Nope.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. So I was kind of sold on going there. That's where I wanted to go. And while I'm making this decision, I had just made the decision to follow Christ. Was a new believer. Deciding between colleges. And so
senior in high school is when, okay, wow.
Yeah. So I was 17 when I started walking with the Lord. And that was a process all through my senior year of high school. The Lord was pursuing me. But anyway, so I'm, deciding between Texas A&M, and then my mom and a couple other people were like, just go tour SFA. I had applied here, gotten in, came and toured, and I thought the campus was beautiful, but then it was kind of the Lord who was just gave me a peace and decided to come to SFA. I can't give another explanation other than it being the Lord guiding me in that completely. So I came here to be a nursing major, still a nursing major, fourth semester, about to graduate. And so I came here, was pursuing that, and was looking for a church home as a new believer. Just really wanted to be in a Christian community. Found a church and started going there. It was not Fredonia. And started going there. But then I had a couple of friends who came to Fredonia Hill. And I came to service with them one Sunday. And it was kind of I really enjoyed hearing you teach and just the community that was here at Fredonia. College students that are in Revive. And so I just felt truly at home. And I remember kind of deciding between do I stay at the church that I'm at, or do I come to Fredonia Hill? And I remember sitting on Melina's couch the first time I had met her. She had came up to me after that service and was like, hey, I'm Melina. Who are you?
That was a really good impression, by the way.
That was good.
Yeah. If I would have had my eyes closed, I would.
This is Melina.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Anyway, so she, comes up to me and introduces herself, and later, I don't remember. This was my sophomore year. I am going back and forth between, do I stay at the church I'm at? Do I come to Fredonia Hill? And I remember sitting on Melina's couch just talking to her about it, and her going through that process with me. That was really hard for me. And so then made the decision to come to Fredonia, be a part of Revive, and then COVID hits that next semester. And so that was, my time was kind of cut short in Revive when I first started coming. But anyway, then, we come back to school, and I remember doing at the time it was life groups. We were doing them on Zoom, through Revive.
Wow.
With the Moores and the Hargises. I remember that. It was, oh my gosh, so funny just doing it over Zoom, trying to figure out technology and all of that stuff. But anyway, so yeah, that's kind of how I ended up here, and have just loved being a part of the family here at Fredonia. Love being a part of Revive. Get to be a part of the college ministry as an armor bearer this year, and just really honored to be able to like serve college students in that way.
Yeah.
I love college ministry. So
yeah, that's way cool. So both of you came.
I was going to say, where are you from originally? I don't know if I.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even mention that. I'm from Huffman, Texas, which is like northeast Houston. It's technically not Houston city limits, but I still say Houston because no one knows where Huffman is. But if you know Humble, Atascocita area, that's where I'm from. So, yeah.
Blake's lived in Houston. He knows.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Wow.
I mean, and Ashley's from the Houston area.
Yeah.
She's from Friendswood.
Oh,
and
okay.
then I lived in Jersey Village for a little while. So.
Okay, cool. Yep. So I grew up in.
I know
not
you
much to say about it.
Houston days.
Yeah.
But.
Okay, so you guys both sounds like you both got to school in terms of your faith at a point where you're both there was a lot of growth and learning. You're both kind of relatively new. You're a new believer. You'd kind of come to this point where you'd really started getting serious. You said really seriously gave my life to the Lord. So a big part of your time here has been kind of figuring it out, like the beginning part of figuring it out, walking with Jesus, figuring out how important community is and going on that journey with one another. And but fast forward a little bit of time and there's a trip coming up. So folks that are listening, just kind of if you aren't familiar with Josh Williford and his family, Josh grew up here in this church and has served on staff at a church in Georgetown and some other places. But then a church that they had connected with from Georgetown, or a pastor they connected with in New York, had a church, and they were really trying to get off the ground in terms of moving it from a kind of one ethnic group to a multi-ethnic church that really represented the neighborhood in New York. And Josh felt like the Lord was calling he and his family to move and be part of that project. That they've been on the podcast. No, they haven't. They haven't. We're
going to get them the next time.
That's right.
Yeah.
But we've talked about them on here. And so anyway, we were able to send our first team to New York, and it was a college group. And I think did you both go on that original trip? Okay.
Yeah.
So take us into that, because that's kind of version one. That's the beginning step. What made you want to go on that trip? That's a long way. You're new believers, and we're going to go to a place that's unfamiliar and work. Why did you end up going on that first trip, and what was your experience like there?
Yeah. Well, I don't exactly remember. I think that John and Melina and the college Armor Bearers were just kind of like, hey, we're going to take this trip to New York City. This is kind of the background of it. And they're like, we're going to go do missionary work there and serve with this church. We're going to do a VBS. And I think I was just kind of like, yeah, I want to go. Why would I not go? I want to use my spring break to go on a mission trip. And I had done that a couple spring breaks prior. And so it's kind of I want to go with my college ministry. I want to go serve with them in this way. And so, I don't know. It's just kind of a decision.
So it's pretty natural for you.
Yeah.
Just, okay, yes, here we go. Was it the same for you, Maddie? Or
Well, Melina, this was
you were told, weren't you?
Well, okay, so December is Christmas break. I'm at her house. Everybody's at home. And she's like, hey, we're going on a mission trip to New York this spring, and you should come. And I was like, yeah. She was like, I think it'd be a really good way for you to connect with people, because mission trips, you just kind of get close to people really fast. And so look how that turned out. We ended up in New York for 2 months together.
Yeah, that worked out good.
Yeah. So yeah, potentially I just went because I was like, I love missions and I need friends and I would love this.
Yeah.
Okay, so that first trip, I know there was a lot of pizza consumed. I've heard some of those stories and seen some pictures, but you guys also got a really neat time to experience what God was doing in that church, in that neighborhood. You got to be part of them really getting into the neighborhood in terms of kids coming. And so what happened, or maybe it didn't happen here, but something happened on that trip where you really connected to what was going on there and felt like, I'm gonna come back. How did that happen? Where did you begin to think for the first time, like this is somewhere you would come back and serve for a period of time?
Yeah. So while we were there, we're getting to do this VBS with the kids, getting to connect with them, and like that way of sharing the gospel like with them through just like fun things. But we're also like during the day we were given like assignment kind of things, like these packets that are basically like going out into the community and analyzing culture. Like, what's the culture of the community? What are you seeing? What are you hearing? And getting to talk to people. And I remember one day my group and I went into a coffee shop and just like what we were doing was going in and just asking people, what's important to you? Like, what do you value? And that was part of like that assignment was going in, getting in, like talking to these people and asking them like, what is most important to you? Like, what do you value in life, and how can the church like meet that need? Is essentially like what we were doing on that assignment. And so getting to do that, I remember talking to people and leaving, and I was like, man, I like want to do this more. Like, I want to connect with more of these people. And I think the night before, I'm not really sure the timeline of events, but I think the night before we had missionaries from New York come and talk to us. And they were basically like, we need college students to come up here this summer. It's through Jensen, which is through the North American Mission Board. But Ashley and Wes came and talked to us, and they were like, we need college students to come serve up here this summer. This is kind of like what you'd be doing. And in that moment, I'm thinking, I'm going to be an armor bearer this next year. Like, I like want to like spend my summer in Nacogdoches, thinking these things. Like, I don't think that I like can do that. Like, come here over the summer. And really, then the next day we go out and do that assignment. And I'm like, okay, Lord, like, obviously you're doing something here. I want to be a part of this. And then it was the question of, do I come back here over the summer or not? Was kind of like, they need people. Why would I not come if I'm like able to? And even though like armor bearer, like, technically like starts in the summer, it's like, it's possible for us to move that back and, end our term or end our like year later. And so talking to John and Melina, and was just kind of like, they need people. Why would I not come up here? And saw a need and just was like, I want to be able to be there. But it was definitely the Lord that like did that work in me, like throughout the week as we were there, continuing to go out and interact with people in Ridgewood, which is the neighborhood that Maranatha is at in Queens. So anyway, that was kind of my journey on like how I got to go back over there.
Maddie, before you jump in, what did you said as you talked to people, this isn't your exact word, but you fell in love with it. You really connected. You went, I want to do more of this. Mm-hmm. What was it about what you were seeing and hearing that you think you really connected with or felt burdened for? Maybe that's a hard question to answer, but why do you think that was your response?
I honestly was just wanting to know the people more. I think that's what was interesting to me. And also just knowing that like their needs or like really now looking back at it, but knowing that their needs and what they were value, like there's an answer to that in the gospel. And knowing that like I have something like that I could share with them that would meet that need. And so I think just like, I don't know, wanting to love on those people, having the desire to just get to know them more, and really just like be in their space, honestly.
Yeah.
And like get to share the gospel with them. Wow. So yeah.
Maddie, how about you? When did you know on the trip that you wanted to go back, or was it later? When did you go, this is somewhere I need to return?
Yeah. So, I mean, the Lord did so I have a like heart for missions. Like I believe that the mission field is where the Lord has called me. I mean, our world is our mission field.
Sure.
But initially, I thought that I didn't want to go to college. I wanted to be a missionary. The Lord had other plans.
That's right.
But going on this trip, like the Lord redefined like missions big time for me. And it was just crazy because I always felt international missions would be like where I was at. But if like New York City is where the nations are. And so it was just really cool to like where I'm at is my mission field. And so on that trip, like the Lord was just redefining that in my life. But when Ashley and Wes, the missionaries who came and spoke to us about Jensen, when they asked us, I had no like prior plans for the summer. I was going to work through the summer, and I was just going to like live life. But the second they said they needed people, I was like, I'm going to be in New York this summer. And I like in my head, I was like, a lot of things have to go right for me to be here, but like if the Lord wants me here, like I'll be here, and I was there. So,
wow, that's really for both of you. It really is fairly simple, and I don't mean that at all in a negative way. But both of you are talking about kind of saying there's a need, and if I can be there, and there's no reason why I can rearrange some things. Then I'm going to go. Did you have to kind of get to a place where you worked to that mindset, or did you think that was that just a really natural answer for you to just go, okay, well they need somebody and I'll go? Or I don't know, was there any wrestling in that, or it was just like, whoop, yep, okay, here we go?
You got it.
Well, I feel like I've wrestled with the Lord a lot in my life. And so I kind of was at a point where like I trusted him. But also like the wrestling came afterwards. It was like went wrong, like things would go wrong, and like people would disapprove, and like I have to figure this out for me to be able to go, and what does this look like when I come back? But like the Lord like truly worked out everything in its timing. And so the wrestling came after, but I knew that I was going to be in New York, even in the moments where it was like, okay, it doesn't seem possible.
Well, I would love if you could, to take us into one of those moments where you start maybe questioning or wondering whether or not, man, is this going to work out? Should I do this? You know, you're kind of referencing those. Take us into one of those moments, if you can, the wrestling that came afterward. What was that like? Yeah.
So, coming home, I knew that I was going to be in New York, and I just was like, I have to have these hard conversations with people. Like, I'm going to be gone for 2 months. And I had just got a job, like, pretty good job. And I am not the person to be like, I don't want to commit to this, or like, I'm going to like retract my commitment. I felt so bad. I was like, I promised that I was going to be here, and now I'm asking to go not here. And so, and telling my parents, they're very logistical thinkers. And so I was like, I'm going to go to New York for summer. And they were like, okay, well, how are you going to do this, this, and this? Yeah. And I was like, well, the Lord. But they wanted to know like logistics. And so I was like, I can't give you logistics. Like my dad was like telling me, I have to like have things lined out with my job. Like, you just got this job. Like, what are you going to do? Are you not going to work? I was also signed a lease for an apartment this year, and I wasn't going to be having an income for 2 months, living in New York, which is fairly expensive. Yeah. And so I was like struggling. I was like, Lord, I want to be where you want me to be, but all of these people and like my job says otherwise. And so like, I don't know what to do. But I like brought it up to my boss, and she was like, well, if you feel like the Lord wants you there, like you should do it. But I can't promise you're gonna have a job when you come back. And I was like, great.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, that's okay. And so a few weeks goes by, and she calls me and she's like, hey, we just hired a new girl. And she's going to take your spot while you're gone. But when you get back, you can be part-time, which was even better than I could have even imagined, because I worked full-time last semester with school and like trying to have a social life and trying to be involved. And it was just not the move. Yeah. And so I was like, this is perfect. Like the Lord truly like made this to perfection. And so I was like, okay, now I just got to figure out the funding. And so Jensen is like, you have to pay for your flight and then like the $800, which pays for your room and board, and stuff like that. And so I was like, okay, like I can do this. Like the Lord's going to provide. So I had the flight paid for with a few of the, like fundraisers that I did. But then my old youth pastor who taught me what a relationship looked like. I went and met with him and they funded the rest of the money. Wow. And so it was like, that was taken care of.
Wow.
And so that was like insane. And, so like slowly but surely, like the Lord was just like you're taking steps of faith and I'm going to take care of you.
Wow.
And so it was like every little thing was taken care of. And the lease was taken care of because I now live with the Jameses, if y'all didn't know that.
Wow, they keep coming up in this story.
Yeah, I live with them. And so I had to get my lease taken because I wasn't going to have enough, I wasn't going to be able to pay for that. And so on the day that rent was due, which was like August something, someone took my lease.
Wow.
And so it was just like perfect timing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so you guys get on the ground. You're there. You're going to be there for 2 months. And how well did you know each other much before this at all? I mean, before the first New York trip?
Before the first New York trip, we did not know each other.
Okay, so you met then, I assume, and then now here you are on your 2 months in New York together. What was it like when you first got there? I mean, I've already heard a story about being an hour late for a meeting because you were chasing down a bus. New York travel is its own thing, but I mean, what was just getting there and getting your feet on the ground like?
Yeah, and this is summer you're talking about?
Yeah, the second trip. Yeah.
Okay.
This previous one.
Yeah. So we, so we have like a group of 27 college students that are all coming to New York on the same day. So we all like get to the airport and the first couple hours we were there, it was sitting on the airport floor, like playing Mafia with a couple of different college students. So it was like pretty chill, getting to know one another. Maddie and I we were really excited to be there. And then we like kind of just split off and went to our like different housing. So Maddie and I lived in Queens, Astoria, Queens this summer. And we had another group that was in like Manhattan. So they were in the downtown, like big city. And ours is just like, it was different. Queens is different. It's more like neighborhoody, I would say. Yeah. I guess. I don't know the technical word for that. I don't know if neighborhoody is a word.
I think it works. It qualifies in this.
But yeah, so, I mean, the first day was really just us getting to know our team, getting to know the other college students that were there, getting set up. And then I think the first day was just chill. And then as the week went on, we did like orientation and stuff like that. So, got accustomed to, how do you get around and where do you, get your Metro card and all of those things.
All the fun.
Yeah, the second day that we were there, we did a scavenger hunt of like different like things in New York. So we were like sent out on a scavenger hunt basically to like take a picture with the Statue of Liberty.
I assume this is to help you learn how to travel.
Yes, yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah. So they like sent all of us out in like groups of 4 and we were just, told like these are the list of things, take a photo of it. And it was just to help us learn how to get around the city, the subway system and the bus system and all of that. So yeah, first couple of days were fun. They the whole summer was fun, but they were more like orientation, getting to know one another, scavenger hunt things. So
tell us a little bit about the work that you did there. I mean, what was your task? Why were you going to be there for 2 months?
Well, so we were partnered with Maranatha, and so it was like 70-30 structured. So 70% of it wasn't structured, 30% of it was structured, and the 30% was like we were going out with the church and doing what they were doing, and just like outreach, whatever they had planned. And then the 70% was like us figuring out what like living on mission looked like. And boy, let me tell you, that was not fun. It was fun. It was hard.
Okay, what do you mean unstructured? You figured out. I mean, take us into that a little bit. I don't know that our listeners would know what.
Okay,
what
so we would travel to Queens to Ridgewood every day, and we would have a meeting with Josh, and then we would go out. And basically, we had a project that we had to figure out, like a prospectus, where we had to map out the community and figure out what the community needed. But within that, we were having to like figure out how to like relate and create relationship with people and just like get to know the community and like hopefully like share the gospel with people. And so we struggled with that for the first 3 weeks. Yeah. We felt like we were walking around aimlessly, just like we didn't know what we were doing. We were like, what are we doing here? Like, why are we here walking around Ridgewood, just looking at the street signs? Like, what are we doing? And it didn't hit us until like the third week. We were like, oh, okay, we get it.
Yeah. What happened? What was the big get it point?
Well, I think that for the first 3 weeks, we, like Maddie said, like struggled through like what is our goal here? What are we trying to do? How are we going to make ourselves a part of the community? And what we had been doing was going to coffee shops in the morning and like spending time in the Word, or like planning for our week and stuff like that, or like going on prayer walks. At one point, we like served donuts to the teachers at the end of like their school year and stuff like that. And so these are like consistent things that we were doing through those first 3 weeks. And we felt like these things are not enough. Yeah. We're not doing enough. Yeah. Not like we didn't have like tasks like go do all of these things. We'd had like some tasks that Josh had like given us, but it was kind of like take these tasks and like make them your own, and like go do these things in the community and figure out how to do them. And so like one of the tasks was connecting with the young adult population in Ridgewood. And that was something that we had been trying to do by going to coffee shops and going to the thrift stores that were on like the more trendier side of Ridgewood and all of those things. And so we're like doing that for the first 3 weeks and are like, are we doing what we're supposed to be doing? Going, enjoying a cup of coffee at the coffee shop and having a conversation with like one person maybe because everyone else doesn't want to really talk to us. And it hit us like week 3, week 4, all at different times. And I think what it came down to was we realized like we cannot do this on our own. We had been trying so hard out of our own strength to love these people, to connect with them, to be a part of their community. And it was kind of like the pressure's off. Like, came to a point where it was like, it doesn't have to be like, I don't know. We had like built all of this stuff up in our mind of like what we expected it to be, what it needed to look like, what had to happen. And then it hit us about, week 3, week 4, we were like, what are we doing? Like, we're doing what the Lord has asked of us. And we had seen, the thing is we had like met a lot of young adults, connected with a lot of young adults in the coffee shops that we were going to, in one of the bookstores that we went to, the thrift stores that we frequented. Like, we were connecting with people those first 3 weeks and did not like see what the Lord was doing in that because we were just so like, are we doing what we're supposed to be doing? You know? And then realized like like that time period, like, we're doing what the Lord has asked of us, and we're being obedient to like making sure that we are tending to these relationships, continuing to go to these places consistently so we can build those relationships with people. And then we're able to use that for the rest of like the 4 weeks that we were there. And I mean, yeah, it was just a breaking point for all of us. I think we were just like, we realized that we were trying to do it out of our own strength. Yeah. And it was a very humbling moment, but also very sweet because the Lord did it so gently. It was like, hey, like, you don't have to do this alone. I'm like guiding you in this. I am the one who is like allowing you to connect with these people. Because one of my teammates and I, we were able to share the gospel with a girl, like the first or second week we were there in one of the coffee shops we went to every single week. And then continued to like build that relationship throughout the summer. Yeah. And I don't know, it was such a like gift that the Lord even allowed us to have that conversation because we continued to build that relationship throughout the summer. So yeah.
Okay. So it's like, it's two things. It's, you talk about kind of doing this in your own strength. And when you do that, you talk about being tired and frustrated.
Yes.
And then also kind of being blinded to the things that were actually going on, the good that was actually happening, the connections that were actually being made. So you were tired and blind. And then week 3, that really changes and you kind of realize we've got to see what God is doing, but also invite him into this. We don't need to rely on our own strength. Maddie, how did that change? I mean, because that's basically halfway, not quite, but that's basically halfway. How did that change kind of the rest of the trip from that point?
So after we realized, like, apart from him, we were nothing, we began to live, like, intentionally, which was like what the Lord spoke over me, like, for the rest of the summer was, and even now, like, live every single moment intentionally, like in that coffee shop, in the gym, because we joined a gym while we were there. We gave out donuts at the gym. And they were like, and this is that was crazy. Amazing. The donut day was the day that it clicked for me. It was like that was the day we gave out donuts to the teachers and they like felt appreciated. But when we decided to go give them to the people that we had made connections with, they were like, I can't believe you did this. Like, that's so kind. Like, I heard that so many times. This is so kind. And it was just like the Lord was like showing like his character through us to them. And so it was just like, your life is your mission field. Like, intentionally live everywhere you go and like people will see the gospel. And so that's that's really what the Lord spoke over me. And so the next like 4 weeks felt like short amount of time. Like, those 3 weeks felt so long because we were like, not only were we tired from doing it out of our own strength, we were walking like 6+ miles a day, traveling from like 7 a.m. to like 11 p.m. like all across New York. And so we were exhausted. And we had Sabbaths, but you're in New York City once in your lifetime. And so on Saturday we would try to, some days we rested. But most days we tried to do some stuff we wanted to do.
Yeah.
But we kind of just like, we just wanted to like build those relationships deeper and with the people that we had met, which, by the way, were all like accidents. Like, we met a guy on a subway. He was from Texas and we were like, oh, we're Texans. Like, and we were like connecting with him. That was one of the young adults. We met a guy in a coffee shop, or a girl in a coffee shop, and Gracie and I actually had said something at the same time, and he was like, y'all should sing. And we were like, what?
Yeah.
And so that connection, we kept seeing them, and that connection kept going. And we would just like, we were living every single part of our life intentionally after that. And it really just was like the Lord, just his character was just shining through us after that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I think I love that you said that, because those things apply wherever you're at. I mean, you don't have to. I love that the Lord took you to New York and used you there and taught you those things there. But the things that you're saying are absolutely true, all the time and no matter what. And so I think that's really incredible that you come back here now with not only kind of this openness, and I think that, Blake, the two things that really just stand out to me in the story is, number one, I love the youth of this answer is amazing, but I think it's really challenging, especially because when you become old curmudgeons like you and I, our yes is less available. Yeah. Because we have quote unquote other things going on, and I love their yes. I love that it's like, well, they need people, so we'll go. Yeah. Man, the simplicity of that yes is powerful, and I think we have so many reasons why we say no that, and if we were really to examine those reasons, it's like, why is this standing in the way of God using me the way he wants to use me? So I love your yes, but I also love that lesson that you learn, that it's like that God calls me to something, and he doesn't call me to it so that I can use my own strength and ability to do it. He calls me to it because he wants to be shown through me. I'm a vessel, and I'm a conduit for his work and his glory. And so the shift for you guys from tired, frustrated, and worn out to, even though God was doing things through you, to joy-filled, rested, like enjoyed the experience. The shift there is literally the shift that goes, okay, God, you've got to do this through us, and resting and trusting in him. And I think that's another powerful thing for us to think about, because I think we spend so much time trying to do what God wants us to do on our own, instead of letting him call and equip and work through us. And so I love that you guys learn that lesson, and now you bring that back here, and it's like, okay, God, what do you want me to do? How do you want to use me here? Living intentionally in every moment. That's just really, really, really good. I really appreciate y'all being here. I appreciate you sharing your story. We didn't quite get to, if you guys see them on the street, you need to ask them about a lost cell phone. I think there's a lost cell phone story.
It was stolen. Yeah. Lost and then stolen. To clarify.
Do not city bike in New York.
Don't city bike in New York.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say. Don't city bike in New York. You'll get your phone.
It's a scam.
Lost.
So city bike in New York. Watch out. Okay. Watch out. They are not the new sponsors of this podcast, City Bike in New York. But seriously, thank y'all for sharing. And listen, if you've been impacted by what you've heard today, we would love to hear about it. We love your feedback, and you can reach out to us through all of our social media channels, and then certainly on email, the classic
stc@FredoniaHill.org. It's been a while since I've done that.
I know, it felt like you needed to do it. Episode 5-6, we needed to do it.
Yeah.
Maddie, Gracie, thank you guys so much.
For sure.
Friends, we will see you on the next episode. Adios.